Ladies, listen to me carefully. You don't need another heartbreak to finally wake up. You don't need another man who ghosts you, another date that drains your soul, or another text that never comes. You need clarity. You need standards. You need to become the kind of woman who doesn't chase love, because she is love. Your dating life isn't broken because of bad men. It's broken because somewhere along the line, you stopped honoring yourself. You started tolerating confusion and calling it a connection. You started mistaking attention for affection. You started settling for potential instead of power. And that ends today. Let me say this loud and clear. You are not hard to love. You've just been choosing people who don't know how to love. You keep trying to prove yourself to someone who doesn't even deserve access to your energy. You go on dates hoping he'll pick you, hoping he'll see your worth. But when did you forget? When did you forget that the prize is you? If a man is confused about you, he's not for you. If he's inconsistent, it's not a sign to try hard, it's a sign to walk away. If you're always anxious around him, that's not chemistry, it's your intuition warning you. Stop falling in love with words, watch his actions. Stop staying for someday, see what he's showing you today. Stop thinking your love can heal a man who hasn't even chosen to heal himself. You want to fix your dating life? Then fix your mindset. The high-value woman doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't plead. She doesn't cry over red flags and call them passion. She doesn't lower her standards because she's lonely. She holds her head high even when her heart is tired, because she knows what she brings to the table and she's not afraid to eat alone. Your feminine power is not in how many men want you. It's in how few get to keep you. It's in the boundaries you hold, the energy you protect, and the standards you refuse to lower. Let me be brutally honest with you. If you're still entertaining men who don't know what they want, it's because you don't fully know what you want. Do you want commitment, or are you just addicted to the chase? Do you want a partner, or are you still trying to prove your worth to the world? Do you want real love, or are you scared of being alone? Until you answer these questions truthfully, you will keep repeating the same cycle. You will keep attracting emotionally unavailable men. You will keep giving your heart to people who don't know how to hold it. It's not about them, it's about you. You teach people how to treat you. And every time you tolerate disrespect, you're saying, I'm okay with this. Stop being okay with crumbs when you deserve the whole damn cake. Love doesn't hurt, inconsistency does. Real love is peace, it's presence, it's protection. If it confuses you, drains you, or breaks you, it's not love. The most attractive thing you can do as a woman is know who you are, know what you want, and never settle for anything less. So from this moment on, date from a place of wholeness, not loneliness. Choose peace over chaos. Choose standards over desperation. And above all, choose yourself every single time. Because the truth is, when you become the woman who values herself deeply, you won't need to fix your dating life. You'll simply attract better because you know better. Let this be the video that woke you up. Now go become the woman no man ever forgets. Because she knew exactly who she was. Every woman has a moment where she looks in the mirror and realizes, this isn't love. This isn't what she dreamed about. This isn't what she deserves. It's that quiet moment, often after another night of waiting for a reply that never came, or another conversation that left her feeling more alone than ever. And in that moment, something inside her begins to shift. That's the beginning of power. That's when you stop asking what's wrong with you and you start remembering what's right. You've spent years shrinking yourself, haven't you? You've dimmed your light so someone else could feel comfortable. You've laughed when you wanted to cry, stayed when you should have walked, compromised when you should have said no. You've mistaken silence for strength and endurance for love. But what you were doing wasn't love, it was survival. You kept choosing people who made you question your worth, not because you were weak, but because you didn't realize that love isn't supposed to hurt. Love isn't supposed to feel like a battlefield where your emotions are constantly under attack. And yet you stayed, hoping they'd change, hoping they'd see your loyalty, hoping that maybe if you loved hard enough, they'd finally love you back the way you deserve. But here's the truth. Real love doesn't need to be earned. It doesn't need to be proven. And it definitely doesn't require you to break yourself into pieces just to be chosen. Knowing your worth is not about arrogance. It's about self-respect. It's about looking at yourself and saying, I deserve more consistency, more effort, more honesty. And until someone is ready to give you that, they don't get access to you. Not your time, not your body, not your energy, because you are not a halfway house for emotionally unavailable men. You are not a therapist for someone who refuses to do the work. You are not an option. You are the woman who brings value just by walking into the room. And the day you start believing that is the day your life and your love life begins to change. You've settled because you thought settling was safer than being alone. But alone isn't scary when you like who you are. Alone isn't painful when you've built a life that you're proud of. The problem isn't that you're single. The problem is that you're surrounding yourself with people who make loneliness feel preferable. You're confusing potential with reality. You're falling for who they could be instead of accepting who they are. And every time you stay in a situation where you are undervalued, you teach your soul that this is all it's worth. You become your own betrayer. Let me say this clearly. Your worth is not up for debate. It is not negotiable. It is not based on how much someone else validates you. Your worth is built in. It's in your intelligence, your strength, your sensitivity, your ambition, your laughter, your ability to rise after every heartbreak. It's in the way you love, the way you give, the way you heal. Stop asking people who can't even value themselves to recognize the masterpiece that is you. Do you know why you're tired? Not because you're doing too much, but because you're doing too much for the wrong people. You're pouring your energy into people who only know how to take. You're romanticizing red flags and calling it passion. You're tolerating disrespect and calling it growth. But growth isn't found in chaos. It's found in peace. The right relationship won't require you to abandon yourself. The right man will never leave you wondering where you stand. He will never make you feel like you're asking for too much when you're only asking for the bare minimum: honesty, effort, consistency, respect. You're not hard to love. You're just used to being around people who don't know what love actually is. You spend too long adapting to dysfunction, lowering your standards, calling it compromise. But what it really is self-abandonment. And you can't keep doing that. Not if you want real love. Not if you want peace. You fix your dating life by fixing your internal world. You start by saying no to what drains you. You start by getting so clear on what you want that anything less becomes obvious. You stop begging to be seen, and you start walking like you know you're the table, the chair, and the whole room. When you know your worth, you stop trying to be impressive and start being authentic. You stop pretending you're okay with things you're not okay with. You stop staying silent to keep someone else happy. You stop walking away from anything that makes you question your value, even if you love them, even if it hurts, because the pain of walking away is temporary. The pain of staying in something toxic, that lasts a lifetime. There is nothing more dangerous than a woman who finally decides she's done settling. She moves differently. She speaks with clarity. She chooses herself unapologetically. She doesn't chase, she doesn't cling, and she doesn't negotiate with people who show up half-hearted. She would rather be alone in truth than surrounded by people in lies. You were not born to be background noise in someone else's life. You are the main story. You are the woman who can create her own happiness, her own abundance, her own future. You don't need someone to rescue you. You need someone who recognizes your strength and chooses to build with you, not fix you. You're not broken. You're just healing from a world that taught you to settle for less. Start demanding more. From your relationships, from your friendships, from yourself. You are allowed to have high standards. You are allowed to walk away from anything that doesn't align with your values. You are allowed to be unapologetically focused on your peace. That's not pride, that's power. And when you walk in that power, you don't have to worry about who's going to love you. The right people will gravitate towards you because self-worth is magnetic. So here's the truth. No one else is going to give you permission to live at your highest level. You have to give it to yourself. You have to stop waiting for closure, for apologies, for someone to finally treat you right. You have to become the woman who gives those things to herself. You don't need someone to complete you. You need someone who complements the wholeness you've already built. If you keep settling, you keep silencing the voice inside that's begging you to rise. That voice that says, I deserve more. That voice that's tired of being second, tired of waiting, tired of crying over people who don't even know how to love themselves. That voice is your truth. And you owe it to yourself to listen. You are not a placeholder. You are not here to prove yourself worthy of basic effort. You are not meant to fight for someone who isn't even fighting for you. You are here to love boldly, live freely, and choose yourself radically. When you do that, when you finally stop settling, everything changes. Because once a woman knows her worth, there is no going back. There is no more tolerating confusion, no more over-explaining, no more accepting less. She becomes her own standard. And from that place of power, the right love will find her. Not because she needed it, but because she finally became the kind of woman who no longer accepts anything less than what she's always deserved. Words are easy, they're effortless. They roll off the tongue with charm and sugar and all the right timing. And for a while, they're enough. Because they sound like everything you've been waiting to hear. I miss you. You're different. You're the one. But when you look closely, there's a disconnect. The words say one thing, but the actions, they whisper the truth. They always do. You keep falling for what he says, but what does he do? Does he show up? Does he follow through? Does he create safety around your emotions? Or do you feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells, unsure of how much you matter? You can't keep giving your heart to someone who shows you the bare minimum and says all the right things. A real connection isn't spoken, it's shown, and it's shown daily, not just when it's convenient. You know this already. You felt that gap. The way he says he cares, but he disappears when you need him the most. The way he says you're special, but he treats you like you're replaceable. The way he says he's not ready, but somehow finds the energy to pursue other women when you pull away. You're not confused. You're just ignoring what you see because it hurts too much to accept it. You keep clinging to the words, hoping the actions will catch up, but they don't. And deep down, you know they never will. There's a woman inside you who's tired of being fooled by sweet talk, tired of decoding mixed signals, tired of being strung along by a man who gives you just enough to keep you hopeful, but never enough to give you peace. And that woman is powerful, because the moment she chooses to stop listening to empty words and start watching real behavior, everything changes. She doesn't need another apology. She doesn't need another promise. She needs presence. She needs consistency. She needs someone who doesn't just talk about effort, but lives it. You can't build anything real with someone whose loyalty is conditional, someone who only shows up when it benefits them, someone who uses affection as a tool to keep you close while they entertain other options. That's not love. That's manipulation. You need to stop mistaking charm for character. A man who knows how to talk is not the same as a man who knows how to love. One plays with words, the other proves himself through effort, through time, through action. It's not about how often he says he loves you. It's about how safe you feel in his presence. It's about whether or not you have to second guess his intentions every night before you fall asleep. It's about whether he shows up when it matters or only when it's convenient. A man who wants you will make it known, not with grand speeches, but with quiet consistency. He'll text back. He'll follow up. He'll keep his word. And if he can't do those small things, he's not ready for something real. You've been lied to so many times, you've started to believe that bare effort is something rare. But let me remind you, it's not. What's rare is someone who respects your time, your mind, and your body. What's rare is a man who doesn't just make you feel loved, but makes you feel honored. And that kind of love doesn't start with words. It starts with integrity. It starts with discipline. It starts with a man who doesn't just say he values you, but proves it by how he treats you when no one's watching. You've got to stop being impressed by the man who calls you beautiful and start being drawn to the one who protects your spirit. Start being drawn to the man who listens when you speak, remembers the things you love, and respects the boundaries you set. That's the real test. Not the flowers, not the compliments, not the long texts at 2 a.m. saying how much he misses you. That's easy. Anyone can do that. But consistency, that's where truth lives. A man can say he wants to marry you, but does he include you in his long-term plans? A man can say he respects you, but does he honor your values when no one else is looking? A man can say you're his priority, but does he choose you when it's hard, when it's messy, when it's inconvenient? If the answer is no, then you have your answer. Stop looking for more. You don't need to beg for proof. His behavior is your closure. His inconsistency is your clarity. Stop waiting for a better version of him that may never exist. When a man loves you, his actions are louder than his voice. He doesn't just check in when he's bored. He checks in because you're on his mind. He doesn't just plan dates. He plans a life. He doesn't confuse you. He comforts you. He doesn't test your patience. He respects your time. And if you've never experienced that before, that's not a reflection of your worth. That's a reflection of what you've allowed, what you've tolerated, and what you've believed you deserved. Let me say this plainly. You are not hard to love. You are just choosing people who are not capable of giving what you require. And no amount of patience, love, or loyalty can change a man who is not ready to change himself. It is not your job to heal someone through their lack of emotional maturity. It is not your job to fix someone who shows you the same patterns over and over again. Your job is to observe and then choose wisely, intentionally, and without apology. The right man will not play games with you. He won't have you questioning your place in his life. You won't feel like you're in competition with other women. You won't feel like you're too much for asking for clarity, effort, or commitment. You will feel chosen consistently, clearly, and completely. And until that man shows up, you stay true to your standards, not because you're waiting for a fairy tale, but because you refuse to accept anything less than mutual respect. You're not high maintenance for wanting consistency. You're not crazy for asking where this is going. You're not too intense for wanting emotional maturity. You're a woman with standards, and that's exactly how it should be. If a man can't meet those standards, that doesn't mean you lower them. That means you walk. Not out of bitterness, but out of self-worth. Not to punish him, but to protect your peace. And the moment you do that, the moment you detach from sweet words and start demanding aligned actions, you stop attracting confusion. You stop entertaining inconsistency. You stop wasting time on people who are never ready. Because now you're showing up differently. You're not waiting. You're observing. You're not guessing. You're deciding. And that energy changes everything. When you stop chasing words and start watching actions, you protect your heart, you preserve your energy, and you position yourself for real love, the kind that doesn't have to be begged for, questioned, or doubted. Because the man who truly sees you will not confuse you. He will not say one thing and do another. He will align his words with his actions, and in doing so, he will create the kind of safety no apology could ever replace. You don't attract what you want, you attract who you are. You attract people who reflect your wounds, your beliefs, your level of healing. That's why the same patterns keep showing up. The same heartbreak in a different body. The same red flags you swore you'd never ignore again. And you sit there wondering, why does this keep happening to me? But the real question is, what inside me is still allowing this? Until you heal, your heart is a magnet for chaos, for inconsistency, for emotional unavailability, not because you deserve it, but because your inner world is still in survival mode. You're still trying to fix in others what was broken in you. You're still trying to earn love you never had to chase in the first place. You're still confusing attention with affection, chaos with passion, inconsistency with mystery. Let me tell you something, love doesn't feel like tension, it feels like peace, it feels like home, it feels like exhale, not anxiety. You have to stop blaming everyone else for how they treated you and start asking why you tolerated it, why you kept giving chances to people who showed you their truth the first time, why you confused emotional hunger with emotional intimacy. Healing isn't about blaming them, it's about confronting you. It's about holding yourself accountable for the ways you kept abandoning your own intuition just to avoid being alone. You kept choosing pain because pain felt familiar. You kept holding on to people not because they loved you, but because letting go felt like losing a part of yourself. But real healing starts the moment you stop chasing broken love and start giving yourself the love you've been begging for. It's easy to say there are no good men left. It's harder to admit I've never actually experienced healthy love, and I don't know how to recognize it. It's easy to say everyone leaves. It's harder to admit I keep choosing people who are never capable of staying. That kind of self-awareness is what separates pain from wisdom. And until you develop it, you'll keep walking into relationships that mirror your trauma, not your truth. You want a man who's emotionally available, who's consistent, who's loyal and grounded and ready. But are you ready for that kind of love? Or are you still healing from the one who ghosted you, from the one who made you feel like you were too much for simply asking for clarity, from the one who confused your kindness for weakness? Be honest with yourself. Because until you stop letting pain lead your choices, love will always feel out of reach. You can't attract love from a place of lack. You can't build a healthy relationship when your foundation is fear. Fear of abandonment, fear of not being enough, fear of being vulnerable again. That fear becomes armor. It turns you cold. It makes you defensive. It pushes away the very connection you're craving. And yet you keep pretending you're fine. You keep posting like you're unbothered. You keep distracting yourself with surface level validation, hoping it will numb the ache of not feeling truly seen. But healing doesn't happen through distraction. Healing happens through confrontation. You have to sit with the parts of you that still think you're unworthy. You have to question the voice that says you need to shrink to be loved. You have to forgive yourself for not knowing better, for staying too long, for giving too much. You have to stop making temporary people permanent fixtures in your mind. And above all, you have to grieve, not just the person, but the version of you that tolerated less than you deserved. That version of you wasn't weak. She was just doing her best with the awareness she had. But now you know better. And knowing better means choosing better. Healing is messy. It's not this beautiful, serene process that social media makes it out to be. It's ugly crying on the floor at 2 a.m. It's deleting the number and blocking it again when your mind starts to romanticize the pain. It's looking in the mirror and facing the fact that your standards were low because your self-esteem was even lower. It's sitting in silence instead of chasing noise. It's doing the work. Therapy, journaling, prayer, boundaries. It's being so radically honest with yourself that the old you doesn't stand a chance. You don't attract better by begging the universe. You attract better by becoming better. You attract better by raising your frequency. When you start operating from a healed place, your energy changes. You stop craving validation. You stop chasing people who are emotionally unavailable. You stop trying to prove your worth. You move differently. You respond instead of reacting. You speak up instead of staying silent. You leave instead of lingering in confusion. And from that place of clarity, you attract people who are also clear. Because here's the truth. Healthy love doesn't feel confusing. A healed woman doesn't settle for potential. She doesn't hold on to almosts. She doesn't waste time trying to decode mixed signals. She knows her energy is sacred and she treats it that way. She doesn't chase, she attracts. And she attracts from a place of fullness, not desperation. You think healing is about finding the right person. It's not. It's about becoming the right person for yourself. It's about breaking the cycle of people pleasing, the cycle of self-abandonment, the cycle of settling. And when you break that cycle, you make space. You make space for the kind of love that doesn't hurt, doesn't haunt, doesn't play games. You make space for the love that holds you, challenges you, grows you. But you can't receive that love until you become the version of yourself who knows how to sustain it. You don't get to skip the healing and expect the reward. You don't get to avoid the pain and still call it growth. You've got to do the work. You've got to face the wounds. You've got to stop masking it with rebounds and distractions and half-hearted situationships. You've got to be brave enough to be alone, because only in solitude can you see yourself clearly. Only in solitude can you unlearn the lies. And once you see it, really see it, you'll never settle again. You'll stop choosing men who drain you just to feel chosen. You'll stop pouring into people who don't even have the capacity to hold space for you. You'll stop abandoning your standards just to feel wanted. Because now you want you. Now you're the one validating your worth. Now you don't need chaos to feel alive. You need peace. You need purpose. You need love that mirrors the healing you fought so hard to earn. And yes, it takes time. It takes breaking down the walls. It takes learning how to trust again, not just others, but yourself. Trusting your judgment, trusting your instincts, trusting that you won't betray yourself again. That's the real work. That's what makes all the difference, because once you trust yourself, you become unshakable. You don't tolerate what you used to. You don't linger in uncertainty. You don't settle for almosts. You become the woman who doesn't flinch when she's alone, who doesn't tolerate half effort, who doesn't lower her standards just to avoid loneliness. You become magnetic, not because of how you look, but because of your energy. Healed energy is radiant, it's grounded, it's strong, and that energy draws in people who match your frequency. So if you want better, start with you. Heal the heartbreaks, unlearn the lies, rebuild your confidence, elevate your mindset, reconnect with your power, because the love you seek is only attracted to the version of you who knows she's already worthy of it. And until you become her, you'll keep attracting reflections of your wounds, not your worth. The reason most women keep ending up in situations where they feel undervalued, overlooked, or misunderstood is because they've forgotten their position. Somewhere along the line, you were taught that your love needs to be earned, that if you show him how loyal you are, how understanding you can be, how patient you are with his inconsistency, he'll suddenly wake up and choose you. But that's not how this works. That's how you end up drained, disrespected, and discarded. Because men don't value the woman who chases, they value the woman who holds her ground. When you make yourself too available, too accessible, too willing to carry the emotional weight of the relationship, you create an imbalance. You step into the masculine energy of pursuit, of initiation, of doing all the emotional labor. And it might feel powerful in the beginning. It might feel like you're showing effort or being different from other women. But what you're actually doing is reversing the natural order of attraction. And then you wonder why he lost interest, why he stopped texting first, why he started pulling away. But you handed him the dynamic where he doesn't have to try. Why would he chase what he already knows he can have without effort? Being the prize means knowing that effort is a two-way street. It means knowing that real connection doesn't come from chasing. It comes from alignment. When you chase, you're sending a message. I don't believe I'm worthy enough to be chosen. I don't trust that what I bring to the table is valuable enough. I don't feel safe waiting, so I pursue. And that energy, even if it's subtle, shifts the entire relationship dynamic. You become the giver. He becomes the taker. You become the initiator. He becomes the evaluator. You become the one trying to prove. He becomes the one sitting back, deciding if you're enough. Let me tell you something. He should be trying to prove himself to you, not because you're arrogant, not because you're playing games, but because you know your worth. You know that emotional access to you is a privilege, not a right. You know that your time, energy, and attention are sacred. You know that a man who is serious will make his intentions clear, not leave you guessing. You know that being desired isn't the same as being valued. You're done confusing chemistry with commitment. You're done mistaking potential for partnership. You're done doing all the work just to be seen. The woman who knows she's the prize doesn't panic when someone pulls away. She doesn't spiral into anxiety wondering what went wrong. She doesn't chase closure. She understands that if a man wants her, nothing will keep him away. And if he doesn't, nothing she does will convince him. She doesn't see rejection as a reflection of her value. She sees it as divine redirection. She knows that every no is a space cleared for something better. She doesn't attach her self-worth to who stays or who goes. Her worth is not up for negotiation. When you lead with your value, you become magnetic, not because you're trying to prove anything, but because your energy speaks louder than your words. You don't need to over-explain. You don't need to overperform. You don't need to overshare. You let your presence do the talking. You let your confidence set the tone. You let your standards filter out the inconsistent. And when someone sees that, truly sees that, they'll rise or they'll leave. Either way, you win. But let me be clear. Being the prize doesn't mean being cold. It doesn't mean being rude. It doesn't mean playing games or pretending you don't care. It means having boundaries. It means having self-respect. It means you give access slowly, intentionally, and with discernment. You take your time. You let people earn their place in your life. You don't give loyalty to someone who hasn't even earned your trust. You don't build a future with someone who hasn't even shown consistency in the present. You don't allow emotional intimacy with someone who hasn't proven emotional maturity. Being the prize is about grace and grit. It's soft power. It's knowing when to lean in and when to pull back. It's knowing that your feminine energy isn't about effort. It's about magnetism. It's about alignment. It's about showing up in your wholeness and letting that attract what is meant for you. Because what's meant for you will never require you to beg, chase, or shrink. Every time you beg for love, you dishonor yourself. Every time you chase someone who doesn't value you, you betray yourself. Every time you lower your standards for potential, you delay your own growth. But when you shift from the pursuer to the prize, you take your power back, you reclaim your energy, you give yourself the dignity of waiting, not waiting with desperation, but with self-respect, waiting with faith, waiting with the knowing that what you want also wants you, but it will only find you when you stop chasing what's beneath you. You think you're afraid of being alone, but what you're really afraid of is sitting with yourself, because that's where the real work is. That's where the old stories get rewritten. That's where the inner child gets healed. That's where you stop needing someone else to make you feel worthy and start recognizing you always were. When you truly heal, you stop chasing because you're no longer trying to fill a void. You realize you don't need someone to complete you. You need someone to complement you. You don't need someone to rescue you. You need someone who respects you. And those people, they're only drawn to women who already know they're the prize. You don't need to prove yourself to a man who already sees your value. You don't need to constantly show how loyal, kind, or nurturing you are. The right man will recognize it and he'll honor it. And the wrong man, let him go. Let him go with grace, not bitterness. Because your energy is too expensive for people who can't afford it. Your heart is too sacred for people who treat it like an option. You are too much, woman, to be chasing any man. So start walking like you're the prize, talk like you're the prize, move like you're the prize, because you are. You are not just a woman, you are a woman of value, of depth, of substance. And the man who sees that won't need convincing. He'll see it, he'll feel it, and he'll act accordingly.